You can never be as strong as one, and that one is Akeyles, the god of review. That's right, God of War review time, which was really highly requested for what my channel is. But let's forget about that and let's get right into it. First things first, this is not a God of War game as in the traditional 1, 2, 3. If you're thinking you're gonna play some kind of gameplay like that, it's definitely not like that. This gameplay feels more like a Hellblade, maybe even Dark Souls, with its own little twist. Also, let me put a little sidebar in. I play using the classic controls. That's right, I needed my attacks to be on triangle and square instead of R1 and R2 because my trigger finger was hurting a lot just from pushing it so much. One of those little twists that I mentioned is the axe. The way the axe plays is really great. You have your basic melee attacks just like in Hellblade with her sword, but you're able to throw this sword and then recall it back at any time that you want. So you can do a lot of different crazy combos where like you're punching them, you push them away, you throw your axe at them, or you throw your axe at their feet, tripping them, and then continuing the combo. There's just a whole bunch of different things that you can do with the axe, and trust me, this axe helps out a lot, especially when you're fighting upon enemies that are double your level. You can sit there and just throw your axe like you're Olaf with 40% cooldown. Okay, so let's talk about the hands. Those are one of the first weapons you get. They're really good, you know, just punching. They build up stun faster than the axe, and you can also use other heavy stun moves like Atreus's bow, and I'm pretty sure there's some runes that also work well with the combo to build stun fast, so that way you can execute your enemies and you don't have to worry about killing them or, you know, dropping the life bar down all the way to the bottom, because once you build their stun, that's an automatic kill. So it's just all depends on how your playstyle is. If you're a hybrid person, you can mix in the axe with the hands, or you can strictly go a hands on approach and just use your hands. Now, the stun won't work on major bosses and big enemies, certain big enemies, but you can always tell if they have a stun meter or not unless you're playing without the HUD that has a life bar. Like without the life bar, then you'll never tell. You could never tell if a person can be stunned or not unless you stunned them before. Okay, so now let's talk about the gear. The gear, there's a whole bunch of gear in this game, and just a lot of things that you have to keep up with. So your gear has, depending on what level it is and depending on how good the item is or the clothing wear, they have different rank to them, and you can power them up, and as you power them up, they get different rune slots, and you can add different runes to those slots, which each rune gives like a different it gives you stats, and then some of them give you special abilities, like when you block you get some health back, or when you successfully hit 5 people without getting hit, you'll build rage faster. So you have a whole bunch of different stats like that, or different unique gems that you can put into them on top of the stats that you're building. So you can build one way depending on how you want to play. So this game is very unique. If you want to be a mage with Kratos, and I know that kind of sounds weird, but if you want to be a mage with him, you can actually be a mage. You can power up what is called runic, and that's the magic damage, and you can find special ability gems that go into your slots, and it goes into your weapon. So your weapon also has slots on there, one for light, one for heavy, and it'll do a special light special move and a special heavy special move with a cooldown on it. And yeah, you can throw ice beams from just jumping in the air, coming back down, freezing the area around you, to just throwing your axe really hard. Or there's just a whole bunch of different moves that you can do. So you could be a mage, you could not worry about that at all and just focus on attack where you're hitting people really hard, or worry about defense and take a little bit more hits, even though there are a lot of enemies, well, depending on your level, that can one-shot you. But you can reduce that by focusing on defense and vitality. So this one has very uniqueness to it, where you can play however you want with Kratos. And just like how Kratos has gear, Atreus has gear. And Atreus, let me just talk about Atreus. Atreus is MVP, no doubt, for sure. This man really made my gameplay day. He really is a pinch. He'll save you in a pinch. He can play however you want him to play, because you can control him, or you can let him do his own thing, and you'll see him choking people. And then when you do a really epic heavy move that'll stagger the opponents, he'll jump off your shoulder and start shooting, and that's all automatic. But you can also have it where you can press your Atreus button, which mine was R2, and you can have him shoot whenever you want him to, but with the cooldown. And you can really focus on just continuous damage with him. He really helps out, especially on bosses, like I said, that are 2 times your level, that will one shot you. He can really help. He can really stun. He can stun people in a pinch. And he also gets gear and upgrades just like Kratos. Even though his gear is just a little bit more simpler than Kratos, you just buy one whole clothing for him, and it'll tell you and it'll focus on what you want to do. So if you don't want to be pressing the trace button and you just want him to do his own thing, there is a outfit that will buff just damage. And if you are a person who wants him constantly shooting, then there's a outfit that will constantly make him shoot. And then I think there's one more costume that will either I think stop him from getting hurt as much or something like that. I didn't really read into it because I already knew exactly what I wanted, which was cooldown and more damage on shots. So let's go ahead and talk about story. Kratos leaves the land of Greek mythology to travel to a far away place where he falls in love with a girl and he has a kid. Then that lady dies and wishes for him to spread his ashes on the highest point of the 9 realms. 9 realms, hey, yeah, exactly, that's right, he's in the land of Norse mythology. Right before the journey, he decides to test the boy, and the boy passes. So they go home, and as soon as they get home, they get a knock on the door from Trouble. And now they have to do this whole journey while also dealing with this new Trouble. So Kratos has to deal with all this new mess on top of being a brandly new single father. So he has to adapt to the situation and try to teach Atreus how to be a man, because he knows from this point on it's not going to be easy, especially with the new Trouble and with the internal struggles of Kratos himself and how he views gods and how he believes that gods are cursed. And he doesn't want to let him know. Atreus knows, but he knows that people are going to mess with Atreus because he is a god. So he's trying to toughen him up and trying to make him become a soldier or somewhere where Kratos is, so he can survive in this crazy god infested world. But at the same time, Atreus is trying to appease his dad, try to be the best kid that he can, and it seems like every time he does exactly what his dad tells him to, that his dad doesn't praise him, so he doesn't know. He feels like he's not making his dad happy. It seems like that's all he wants to do, and they just grow together. This story is really great because you get to see them grow. And Atreus was raised by his mom, which was a nice woman. You can tell by the way he acts and how he always wants to help people. But Kratos is always driven towards his goal, where he doesn't care about anybody. You can see somebody getting shot down, and Atreus is like, we need to help them, and the dad is like, no, we don't know anything. We don't know who those people are. And they constantly struggle with that until they learn at the end how to how to play off each other. So it's a really great story. I'm trying not to spoil anything. It's kind of hard to do that, how to talk about the story and not just spoil anything, but it's a really great story. It fucking flows very well, and I think that's mainly on how the game was made, because if you need a break from the story, you can kind of just play side quests, and the side quests don't feel like story. I mean, like regular old BS side missions. They actually are great side missions that give you tons of experience and special runic attacks. Okay, so now let's go into final thoughts, and this is where I tell you 3 things I like, 3 things I didn't like, and let's go ahead and start with likes. I really like this game's combat. It is really great. I loved how Hellblade's felt, and this one feels very similar to it, but like I said, it has its own twist, and just like the different abilities that you can do, and then the fact that your special moves, the 2 that you have, are actually attachments that go to the axe or your other weapon, and you're able to switch them out at any time that you want. So if you're fighting a solo person, you're able to pick a move that does like a lot of damage to a single target, or if you're fighting a huge group, you can switch it out at any time to do splash damage or crowd control moves. So gameplay for sure is a really good like for me. Next, there's the inclusion of Atreus. He is by far magnificent. Playing through the story, he's good. The gameplay, once he gets advanced combat, he is a highlight. He is my Robin to Batman. He is like the idea for, like, if they made a Batman game, that's how Robin should play. Definitely. He didn't seem like Ellie, where she didn't do anything, and he didn't do too much overpowered things. He was perfect, and by far one of the best things of God of War game. I hope in the future, as he develops, hopefully we get to either get like a co-op game with Atreus, or maybe even Atreus his own side story or spin-off. I would love to just play with him, because I like his attitude. I like everything about him. The next thing that I like is the game can be as hard as you want it to be, outside of difficulty. So if you're playing on the second hardest difficulty and you want to play it like at a tougher pace, but you don't want to go to the very, very hard one, then you can just play this game and go straight through the story, no side quest. It will make it a lot tougher to play because you don't get those extra XP, and you're really limited to the things that you can upgrade, and you don't have as many runic attacks or any special gear, so it'll make it a lot tougher than if you were to play a lot of the side quests and sit there and grind up and then play the story mode. But the side quests do, and this is another perfect thing about this game, each side quest, like, you can do a really hard one where like they're level 6 and you're level 2 and they one shot you, and you can sit there and chip away at them for 30-45 minutes. That's if you execute everything, because they will one shot you and then get this huge experience boost. So if you want to just right off the bat get all powerful and then run through the story, you can do that. And that's definitely one thing that you can do. You can just you can play the game at any pace that you feel like, and it doesn't feel like a chore. On to gripes. One of my biggest gripes is that I want to see more enemy types. Now, there are a lot of enemies in this game, but they also feel kind of the same. I don't know if it's just because they're humanoid, and whenever I'm playing a God of War game, I'm used to like centaurs and harpies and things like that. But I feel like the humanoid characters all kind of feel the same. They might have like different swinging motions or something like that, but the humanoid monsters, I would say we had a lot of those compared to any other type of creature. So definitely add more less humanoid characters and more like, I don't know, unique characters. How the QTEs, or how they handle QTEs in this game, that's my second gripe. They didn't even put challenging QTEs. Mainly it was just press circle, and then some of those times you didn't really even have to press circle. Like if you put your controller down when there's one part where like you're going up an elevator and the elevator gets stuck, so you have to kick it out. You don't even if you don't push circle, nothing really happens. Like the game just doesn't progress, or you don't really get punished in the little QTEs that they did have. I kind of understand how they were going, where they gave you the cinematic feel, but we expected QTEs to be in the game. Just to finish off the boss, just give us a QTE. And my last gripe with the game is whenever Atreus couldn't fight with you for X reason, no spoilers, I really dislike that. It's still fun, the game is still fun, the combat's still smooth. It's just, I had anxiety. My son wasn't there with me. Okay, so let's wrap this up. I definitely recommend this game. In fact, go and buy it now. It's definitely worth $60. If you don't have a PlayStation 4, go buy a PlayStation 4. And it's not just for one game, because Spider-Man's coming. Definitely play this God of War game. Play it like as soon as you can. Just drop what you're doing, drop your baby, leave work, go buy the game, play it. Like, I really, really recommend it. And I guess that's it for the game. I really liked the gameplay. I liked everything about the game, with just my few gripes. So you guys let me know how you guys feel about the game. If you played it already and you decided to watch the review, if you're thinking about getting the game, let me know if any of my review helped me down at the bottom. Also, let me know what games are y'all looking forward to for the rest of 2018, or if you're watching this after 2018, that year. Go ahead and drop that down below at the bottom. And I guess we're out. You know what to do. You know all the links and whatnot down below. We out.